Johnson down to the 10-yard line. Did that ball get ripped away from Johnson? Or are they saying he's down? That's Levante David at the bottom of that pile.
The catch.
Why are you the way that you are? Honestly, every time I try to do something fun or exciting, you make it not that way. I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
Hello everybody, my name is Nicholas James Amston and welcome back to Fat Kid Football Network. This week, we're going to get right back into where this channel started, and that's with a steamy, hot, burning episode of Cardwire. Today we're going to be talking about David Johnson, the rise and fall of David Johnson, and just get into where I see his career going and how I think this offseason next year is going to work out for him. To talk about David Johnson, to give everybody an understanding of David Johnson's dominance and the reason what's going on now and has been going on for a while and why people are upset and maybe even confused about what's going on. In 2016, David Johnson was flourishing. He was doing really well. He was honestly a candidate for MVP because he had 1,200 yards rushing and almost 900 receiving yards. He was on pace for 1,000, and in that offseason, he actually said that his goal for the next year in 2017 would be to get 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving. But sadly, in the beginning of that year, he got injured and was put on IR right after the injury. And, hopes were high the next year. We lost Bruce Arians, and we had Steve Wilkes and Mike McCoy come in. Sadly, and midway through the season, unsurprisingly, we did awful. And David kind of suffered from that. He did run for around 1,000 yards, almost 1,000 yards, but his yards per carry was 3.6. Something around there, and he honestly didn't look that good. A lot of people were blaming it on the offense, and that was honestly understandable because the offense that Mike McCoy ran and Byron Leftwich ran after Mike got fired wasn't really suited to David. David didn't really have any impressive games. And now we are in this year. A whole new regime came in with Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray, new wide receivers, a new defensive coach, everything new. A whole start over, and honestly, people, including myself, thought that it was David Johnson's year. It was his comeback year. He could get that 1,000 because Cliff Kingsbury's offense could work for him very well because Cliff likes receiving backs. He likes those receiving backs who are also kind of power backs. And honestly, it seemed like a year David could get that 1,000, and I honestly thought that. So in the offseason, David was rehabbing. I don't believe he played in preseason. We were expecting great things from David, and I expected that to come with a new offense. Week 1, he looked okay. He had a nice game, nothing too impressive. Then 3 weeks of looking blech or meh and average. Then he does great against the Bengals. But when you think about it, wasn't even that impressive because the Bengals are the worst team in the NFL in my opinion. So I don't know if that's anything we can really give David props for, doing great against a really bad team. He then had a 2-touchdown game against the Falcons, and yeah, that game looked okay for him. He didn't get that many yards, but he got 2 touchdowns. He kind of looked good in that game. He was active for the Giants game. He came in and got 1 carry, 1 touch for 2 yards, and somehow managed to look bad on that 1 carry. And that was understandable because he was injured. He ends up not playing against the 49ers. We actually trade for Kenyon Drake that week. And Kenyon Drake comes in and looks honestly pretty great with this offensive line. And something I kind of want to talk about is this offensive line. And I don't think anybody can blame the offensive line for David Johnson's struggles. The offensive line has looked better than it has the past 4 years, in my opinion. The players, the coach, I think, is really great for the O-line, and I don't believe the offensive line has any say in David's struggles. The Kyler struggles, yeah, but not David. I think they're a great run blocking line, and they prove it against the Giants, against the Niners, when Kenyon Drake and Chase Edmonds both have great games, and David doesn't have a really good game all the rest of the year. I would say even that Kenyon Drake's game and Chase Edmonds' game made both of them look like better running backs than David Johnson has looked all year. And so I don't blame the offensive line for David's struggles at all. David ends up looking awful against the Buccaneers and doesn't play against the Niners the second time. He gets 6 reps on the field, but no touches. And so here we are now. David gets no touches this last week, is basically benched the week before, and his locker is cleaned out before he can get any interviews with the media after the Niners game. In all fairness, that Niners game was disappointing for everyone involved, even the fans watching it. So now we're all here with this shitty taste in our mouths of, is David Johnson bad? I love David Johnson, but what's going on? He looks sluggish and just slow. He's never been a fast guy, but after these last couple of games and injuries and all this other stuff, he just kind of looks like a guy who's like Frank Gore's age. And you could blame it on the carries that he got that 1 year. To me, longevity in running backs is very important, and I can't give him that excuse of, oh, he had so many carries in 2016. He touched the ball so many times. Frank Gore is 34 years old. Frank Gore is still going at it. Doesn't look like himself. David is 27. David should be still pretty okay. Everybody's body is different, but he is a muscle freak. He exercises a ton. I don't think his body should be giving out right now. That's my personal opinion. Maybe I'm wrong for that, and maybe that's just a mean thing to say, but that's honestly how I feel. I saw a comment on Reddit where someone said David Johnson was like an Oreo Blizzard, and that, you always go back to an Oreo Blizzard. It's not your first choice, but it always sounds good. If someone offered you one, you would take it. I don't even think at this point David could be an Oreo Blizzard. He's more like a vanilla ice cream cone. Thanks, thanks for the vanilla ice cream cone, but I kind of wanted an Oreo Blizzard. And I think that Kenyon Drake, Chase Edmonds are kind of a blizzard at this point. I know that's like a silly thing to say, but Kenyon Drake has looked really good. And honestly, at this point, I don't believe the Cardinals, unless David in these last couple of games shows up huge. I'm talking 100 yards rushing against one of these teams this next couple of weeks, and he has that chance against the Browns, and I believe the Steelers too. Steelers are awful. If somehow he just goes off, great. I'd love that. But I'm going to assume for right now that David's not. And what I would say we should do this offseason is either cut or trade David Johnson and re-sign Kenyon Drake. And if we can't cut or trade him, if he doesn't want to get a trade or we don't feel like cutting him, at least restructure his contract. He's one of the top 10 highest paid running backs in the league. For what he's doing this year, he doesn't deserve that money. And I think how Cliff is handling it is good. I think this end of this offseason, cut or trade David, keep Kenyon, keep Chase, sign or draft another running back. I'd love to sign Derrick Henry. I don't see it from David anymore. And I just think his career's kind of kaput. I don't believe we'll be seeing a fully charged, fully enraged, fully anything David Johnson. If we do, it'll be after this bye week. But I think it's unlikely. And maybe that's a negative outlook, but the Cardinals are in rebuild, and I don't think finding a new running back will be that hard with this offensive line that we have. Because we see Kenyon Drake, we see Chase Edmonds have these great weeks. I am sure there's better running backs out there than Kenyon Drake and Chase Edmonds. And personally, I think they're both better than David Johnson right now. And that's a huge statement. I understand that. But I think that's how it's going to be. So, on that negative note, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like. I'd appreciate it. Also, leave a comment telling me how wrong I am, how stupid, and how disgusting my opinion is, and how much you hate me. Because I'll really appreciate that. And then also, maybe if you don't feel like that, tell me why you disagree, just in kind of a nice way. And tell me why you might agree. Tell me what you think the Cardinals should do with David Johnson. But anyway, again, thank you for watching. Give your mom a hug and tell her you love her today. Bye.
Hello, chap. What's your favourite cuss? Mine's wiener. Wiener!